Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to read Ezekiel 29 to 33, Psalm 39, and Proverbs 9. Let's get started. It was the 10th year since King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the 12th day of the 10th month, a message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, "Son of man, turn your attention to Pharaoh Hophra. He is the king of Egypt. Prophesy against him and the whole land of Egypt. The Lord and King says, Pharaoh Hophra, I am against King of Egypt. You are like a huge monster lying among your streams. You say, the Nile River belongs to me. I made it for myself, but I will put crooks in your jaws. I will make the fish in your streams stick to your scales. I will pull you out from among your streams. All the fish will stick to your scales. I will leave you out in the desert. All the fish in your streams will be there with you. You'll fall down in an open field. You will not be picked up. I'll feed you to the wild animals and to the birds in the sky. Then everyone who lives in Egypt will know that I am the Lord. You have been like a walking stick made out of a papyrus stem. The people of Israel tried to lean on you. They took hold of me, but you broke under their weight. You tore open their shoulders. The people of Israel leaned on you, but you stamped in two, and their backs were broken. Mom? Water, please? So the Lord and King says, I will send Nebuchadnezzar's sword against you. He will kill people and animals alike. Egypt will become a dry and empty desert. Then your people will know that I am the Lord. You said, the Nile River belongs to me. I made it for myself. So I am against you and your streams. I will destroy the land of Egypt. I will turn it into a dry and empty desert from Migdol all the way to Aswan. I will destroy everything as far as the border of Cush. No people or animals will travel through Egypt. No one will even live there for 40 years. Egypt will be more empty than any other land. Its destroyed cities will lie empty for 40 years. I will scatter the people of Egypt among the nations. I will send them to other countries. But here is what the Lord and King says. At the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians together. I will bring them back from the nations where they were scattered. I will bring them back from where they were taken as prisoners. I will return them to Upper Egypt. That is where their families came from. There they will be an unimportant kingdom. Egypt will be the least important kingdom of all. It will never place itself above the other nations again. I will make it very weak. Then it will never again rule over the nations. The people of Israel will no longer trust in Egypt. Instead, Egypt will remind them of how they sinned when they turned to it for help. Then they will know that I am the Lord and King. It was the 27th year since King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the first day of the first month, a message from the Lord came to me. Here's what the Lord said. Son of man, King Nebuchadnezzar drove his army in a hard military campaign. The campaign was against Tyre. Their helmets were over their heads bare. The heavy loads they carried made their shoulders raw. But he and his army did not gain anything from the campaign he led against Tyre. So I am going to give Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. He will carry off its wealth. He will take away everything else they have. He will give it to his army. And you've given Egypt to him as a reward for its efforts. After all, he and his army attack Egypt because I told him to, announces the Lord of Kings. When Nebuchadnezzar wins the battle over Egypt, I'll make the Israelites strong again. Ezekiel, I'll open your mouth, and you will be able to speak to them. Then they will know that I am the Lord. A message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, prophesy, say, the Lord and King says, cry out, a terrible day is coming. The day is near. The day of the Lord is coming. It will be a cloudy day. The nations have been sentenced to die. I will send Nebuchadnezzar's sword against Egypt. Cush will suffer terribly. Many will die in Egypt. Then its wealth will be carried away. Its foundations will be torn down. The people of Cush, Lydia, Cub, and the whole land of Arabia will be killed by swords. So will the Jews who live in Egypt. They went there from the covenant land of Israel, and the Egyptians will die too. The Lord says, those who are going to help Egypt will die. The strength Egypt was so proud of will fall. Its people will be killed by swords, from Migdol all the way to Aswan, and answers the Lord and King. Egypt will be more empty than any other land. Its cities will be completely destroyed. I'll set Egypt on fire. All those who came to help it will be crushed. Then they will know that I am the Lord. At that time I'll send messengers out in ships. They will terrify the people of Cush who are so contented. Cush will suffer greatly when Egypt falls, and you can be sure it will fall. The Lord and King says, I'll put an end to the huge armies of Egypt. I'll use Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, to do this. He and his armies will attack the land and destroy it. They will not show its people any pity at all. They will use their swords against Egypt. They will fill the land with dead bodies. I will dry up the waters of the Nile River. I will sell the land to an evil nation. I will use the power of outsiders to destroy the land and everything in it. I have spoken. I am the Lord. The Lord and King says, I will destroy the statues of Egypt's gods. I will put an end to the gods the people in Memphis worship. Egypt will not have princes anymore. I will spread fear all through the land. I will completely destroy Upper Egypt. I will set Zoan on fire. I'll punish Thebes. I'll pour out my burning anger on Pelusium. It is a fort in eastern Egypt. I will wipe out the huge army of Thebes. I will set Egypt on fire. Pelusium will groan with terrible pain. Thebes will be ripped apart. Memphis will suffer greatly because of everything that happens. The young men of Heliopolis and Bubastis will be killed by swords. Their people will be taken away as prisoners. I will break Egypt's power over other lands. That will be a dark day for Tahpanhes. There the strength Egypt was so proud of will come to an end. Egypt will be covered with cloud. The people in its villages will be taken away as prisoners. So I will punish Egypt. Then they will know that I am the Lord. It was the 11th year since King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the 7th day of the first month, a message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, I have broken the powerful arm of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. No bandages have been put on his arm to heal it. It has not been put in a cast, so his arm will not be strong enough to use a sword. I am against Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. I will break both his arms. I will break his healthy arm and his broken one. His sword will fall from his hand. I will scatter the people of Egypt among the nations. I will send them to other countries. I will make the arms of the king of Babylon stronger. I will put my sword in his hand, but I will break the arms of Pharaoh, and he will groan in front of Nebuchadnezzar. He will cry out like someone dying from his wounds. I will make the arms of the king of Babylon stronger, but the arms of Pharaoh will not be able to help Egypt. I will put my sword in Nebuchadnezzar's hand. He will get ready to use it against Egypt. Then they will know that I am the Lord. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations. I will send them to other countries. Then they will know that I am the Lord. It was the 11th year since King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the first day of the third month, a message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, speak to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. I shall speak to his huge army. Tell him, who could be compared with your majesty? Think about what happened to Assyria. Once it was like a cedar tree in Lebanon. It had beautiful branches that provided shade for the forest. It grew very high. Its top was above all the leaves. The waters fed it. Deep springs made it grow tall. Their streams flowed all around its base. They made their way to all the trees in the fields. So it grew higher than any other tree in the fields. It grew more limbs. Its branches grew long. They spread because they had plenty of water. All the birds in the sky made their nests in its limbs. All the wild animals had their babies under its branches. All the great nations lived in its shade. Its spreading branches made it majestic and beautiful. Its roots went down deep to where it was plenty of water. The cedar trees in my garden were no match for it. The juniper trees could not equal its limbs. The plane trees could not compare with its branches. No tree in my garden could match its beauty. I gave him many branches. They made it beautiful. All the trees in my garden of Eden were jealous of it. So the Lord and King says, the great cedar tree grew very high. Its top was above all the leaves. He was proud of how tall it was. So I handed it over to the Babylonian ruler of the nations. I wanted to punish it because it was so evil. I decided to get rid of it. The Babylonians cut it down and left it there. They did not show any pity at all. Some of its branches fell on the mountain. Others fell in all the valleys. The branches lay broken in the stream beds in the land. All the nations on earth came out from under its shade, and they went on their way. All the birds settled on the fallen tree. All the wild animals lived among its branches. So trees that receive plenty of water must never grow so high that it makes them proud. Their tops must never be above the rest of the leaves. No other trees that receive a lot of water must ever grow that high. They are appointed to die and go down into the earth below. They will join human beings who go down to the place of the dead. The Lord and King says, Assyria was like a cedar tree, but I brought it down to the place of the dead. On that day I dried up the deep springs of water and covered them. I held its streams back. I shut off its rich supply of water. Because of that, Lebanon was dressed in gloom as if it were close. All the trees in the fields dried up. I thought I had brought the cedar tree down to the place of the dead. It joined the other nations that go down there. I made the nations on earth shake because of the sound of its fall. Then all the trees of Eden were comforted in the earth below. They included the finest and best trees in the land, and they included all the trees that received plenty of water. Others also went down along with the said tree into the place of the dead. They included those who had been killed by swords. They also included the armed men among the nations who lived in its shade. Which one of the trees of Eden can be compared with you? What trees as glorious and majestic as you are? But you too will be brought down to the earth below. There you will join the trees of Eden. You will lie down with those who have not been circumcised. You will be among those who were killed by swords. This is what will happen to Pharaoh and his huge armies, announces the Lord King. It was the 12th year since King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the first day of the 12th month, a message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, sing a song of sadness about Pharaoh Hophra, the king of Egypt. Tell him, you are like a lion among the nations. You are like a monster in the sea. You move around wildly in your rivers. You turn the water with your feet. You make the streams muddy. The Lord King says, I will use a large crowd of people to throw my net over you. They will pull you up in it. Then I'll throw you on the land. I'll toss you into an open field. I will let all the birds in the sky settle on you. I will let all the wild animals eat you up. I will scatter the parts of your body all over the mountains. I will fill the valleys with your remains. I will soak the land with your blood. It will flow all the way to the mountains. The valleys will be filled with the parts of your body. When I wipe you out, I'll put a cover over the heavens. I will darken the stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud. The moons will stop shining. I will darken all the bright lights in the sky above you. I will bring darkness over your land, announces the Lord King. The hearts of many people will be troubled. That's because I will destroy you among the nations. You had never known anything about those lands before. Many nations will be shocked when they see what has happened to you. Their kings will tremble with fear when they find out about it. I will get ready to use Nebuchadnezzar as my sword against them. On the day you fall from power, each of the kings will tremble with fear. Each will be afraid he is the next to die. The Lord King said, I will send against you the sword of the king of Babylon. I will destroy your huge army. They will be killed by the swords of Babylon's mighty soldiers. The soldiers will not show them any pity. They will bring Egypt down in all its pride. Its huge armies will be thrown down. I will destroy all its cattle from the places where they have plenty of water. Human feet will never stir up the water again. The hooves of cattle will not make it muddy anymore. I will let the waters of Egypt settle. I will make its streams flow like olive oil, announces the Lord and King. I will turn Egypt into an empty land. I will strip away everything in it. I will strike down everyone who lives there. Then they will know that I am the Lord. That is the song of sadness people will sing about Egypt. Women from other nations will sing it. They will weep over Egypt and its huge armies, and now says the Lord and King. A message from the Lord came to King Jehoiachin had been brought to Babylon as a prisoner. On the 15th day of the month, 12 years after that, the message came. The Lord said, Son of man, weep over the huge army of Egypt. Tell the Egyptians they will go down into the earth below. The women singers from the other mighty nations will go down into the grave along with them and others. Tell them, are you any better than others? Since you are not, go down there. Lie down with those who have not been circumcised. They will fall dead among those who were killed by sword. Nebuchadnezzar is ready to use his sword against them. Let Egypt be dragged off together with its huge armies. The mighty leaders who are already in the place of the dead will talk about Egypt. They will also speak about the nations that are going to help it. They will say, they will come down here. They are lying down with those who are not being circumcised. They are here with those who were killed by swords. Assyria is there with its whole army. Its king is surrounded by the graves of all its people who were killed by sword. Their graves are deep down in the pit. Assyria's army lies around the grave of its king. All those who spread terror while they were alive are now dead. They were killed by sword. Lamb is also there. Its huge armies lie around the grave of its king. All those who spread terror while they were alive are now dead. They were killed by sword. They have not been circumcised. They went down into the earth below. Their shame is like the shame of others who go down into the grave. A bed is made for Elam's king among the dead. His huge armies lie around his grave. They had not been circumcised. They were killed by sword. They had spread terror while they were alive. So now their shame is like the shame of others who go down into the grave. They lie down among the dead. Meshach and Tubal are also there. Their huge armies lie around the graves of their kings. None of them had been circumcised. They had spread their terror while they were alive. So they were killed by swords. But they did not lie down with the other dead soldiers of long ago. Those soldiers and their weapons had gone down into the place of the dead. Their swords had been placed under their heads. Their shields rest on their bones. The soldiers of Meshach and Tubal do not lie down with them. This is true even though they had also spread terror while they were alive. Pharaoh, you too will be broken. You will lie down among those who had not been circumcised. You will be there with those who were killed by swords. Edom is also there. So are its kings and all its princes. In spite of their power, they lie down with those who were killed by swords. They lie down with those who had not been circumcised. They are there with others who went down into the grave. All the princes of the north are there too. So are all the people of sea. They went down into the grave in dishonor. While they were alive, they used their power to spread terror. They had never been circumcised, but now they lie down there with those who were killed by swords. Their shame is like the shame of others who go down into the grave. Pharaoh and his whole army will see all of them. They will comfort him, even though his huge armies were killed by swords. This is what the Lord and King announces. I let Pharaoh spread terror while he was alive. But now he and his huge armies will be buried with those who have not been circumcised. They will lie down there with those who were killed by swords, announces the Lord and King. A message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, speak to your people. Tell them, suppose I send enemies against a land, and his people choose one of their men to stand guard. He sees the enemies coming against the land. He blows a trumpet to warn the people. Someone hears the trumpet, but they do not pay any attention to the warning. The enemies come and kill them. Then what happens to them will be their own fault. They heard the sound of the trumpet, but they did not pay any attention to the warning. So what happened to them was their own fault. If they had paid attention, they would have saved themselves. But suppose the God sees the enemies coming, and he does not blow the trumpet to warn the people. The enemies come and kill one of them. Then their life is being taken away from them because they sinned. But I will hold the God responsible for their death. Son of man, I have appointed you as prophet to warn to the people of Israel. So listen to my message. Give them a warning from me. Suppose I say to a single person, you can be sure that you will die. And suppose you do not try to get them to change their ways. Then they will die because they have sinned. I'll hold you responsible for their death. But suppose you do warn that simple person. You tell them to change their ways. But they do not change. Then they will die because you have sinned. But you have saved yourself. Son of man, speak to the Israelites. Tell them, you are saying, our sins and the wrong things we have done weigh us down. We are wasting away because we have sinned so much. So how can we live? Tell them, when sinful people die, it does not give me any joy. But when they turn away from their sins and live, that makes me very happy. And that is just as sure as I'm alive, and assist the Lord and King. So turn away from your sins. Change your evil ways. Why should you die, people of Israel? Son of man, speak to your people. Tell them, suppose a godly person does not obey the Lord. Then the right things that person has done in the past count for nothing. Suppose a simple person turns away from doing the wrong things. Then the wrong things that person has done in the past will bring them judgment. A godly person who sins won't be allowed to live. That's true even though they used to do right things. Suppose I tell a godly person that they will live, and they trust in the fact that they used to do what is right, but now they do what is evil. Then I will not remember any of the right things they have done. They will die because they have done so many evil things. Suppose I say to a simple person, you can be sure you'll die, and then they will turn away from their sin. They do what is fair and right. They return things they take to make sure loans are repaid. They give back what they have stolen. They obey my rules that give life. They do not do what is evil. Then you can be sure they will live. They will not die. None of the sins they have committed will be held against them. They have done what is fair and right, so you can be sure they will live. In spite of that, your people say, what the Lord does isn't fair. But it is what you do that is not fair. Suppose a godly person stops doing what is right, and they do what is evil. Then they will die because of it. But suppose a simple person turns away from the evil things they have done, and they do what is fair and right. Then they will live by doing it. In spite of that, you Israelites say, what the Lord does isn't fair. But I will judge each of you based on how you have lived. It was the 12th year since we had been brought to Babylon as prisoners. On the 5th day of the 10th month, a man who had escaped from Jerusalem came to bring me a report. He said, the city is sworn. The evening before the man arrived, the power of the Lord came on me. He opened my mouth before the man came to me in the morning. So my mouth was open. I was no longer silent. Then a message from the Lord came to me. The Lord said, Son of man, here's what the people living in Israel's broken down buildings are saying. Abraham was only one man, but he owned the land. We are many people. The land must certainly belong to us. So tell them, the Lord King says, you eat meat that still has blood in it. You worship your statues of God. You commit murder. So should you still possess the land? You depend on your swords. You do things I hate. Each one of you sleeps with your neighbor's wife. So should you still possess the land? Tell them, here's what the Lord and King says. The people who are left in those broken down buildings will be killed by sword. Wild animals will eat up those who are out in the country. Those who are in caves and other safe places will die of the plague. And that's just as sure as I am alive. And I'll turn the land into a dry and empty desert. The strength Jerusalem is so proud of will come to an end. The mountains of Israel will be deserted. No one will travel across them. So I'll turn the land into a dry and empty desert. I'll punish my people because of all the evil things they have done. I hate those things. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Son of man, your people are talking about you. They are getting together by the walls of their houses and at their doors. They are saying to one another, come, listen to the Lord's message. My people come to you, just as they usually do. They sit in front of me. They hear what you say, but they do not put it into practice. With their mouths they say they love me, but in their hearts they want what belongs to others. They try to get rich by cheating them. You are nothing more to them than someone who sings love songs. They say you have a beautiful voice. They think you play an instrument well. They hear what you say, but they do not put it into practice. Everything I have told you will come true. You can be sure of it. Then the people will know that a prophet has been among them. Proverbs 9. Wisdom has built her house. She has set up its 7 pillars. She has prepared a meat and mixed a wine. She has also set a table. She has sent out her servants. She calls out from the highest point of the sea. She says, "Let all who are childish come to my house." She speaks to those who have no sense. She says, "Come and eat my food. Drink the wine I have made. Leave your childish ways and you will live. Walk in the way of understanding." When you correct someone who makes fun of others, you might be laughed at. When you warn a sinner, you might get hurt. Don't warn those who make fun of others, or they will hate you. Warn those who are wise, and they will love you. Teach a wise person, and they will become even wiser. Teach a person who does right, and they will learn even more. If you want to become wise, you must begin by respecting the law. To know the Holy One is to gain understanding. Through wisdom you will live a long time. Years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you make fun of others, you alone will suffer. The woman called foolishness is wild. She is childish and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house. She sits at the highest point of the sea. She calls out to those who pass by. She calls out to those who go straight on their way. She says, "Let all who are childish come to my house." She speaks to those who have no sense. She says, "Stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret tastes good." But they don't know that dead people are there. They don't know that it gets deep in the place of the dead. Psalm 39. I said, "I'll be careful about how I live. I'll not sin by what I say. I'll keep my mouth closed when I am near sinful people." So I was completely silent. I didn't even say anything good, but the pain inside me grew worse. My heart was deeply troubled. As I thought about what was happening to me, I became even more troubled. Then I spoke out. I said, "Lord, show me where my life will end. Show me how many days I have left. Tell me how short my life will be. You've given me only a few days to live. My whole life doesn't seem like anything to you. No one lasts any longer than a breath. This is true even for those who feel secure. People are only shadows as they go here and there. They rush around, but it doesn't mean anything. They pile up wealth, but they don't know who will finally get it. Lord, what can I look forward to you now? You are the only hope I have. Save me from all the wrong things I've done. Don't let foolish people make fun of me. I keep silent. I don't open my mouth. You're the one who has caused all this to happen. Please stop beating me. I'm about to die from the blows of your hand. You correct and punish people for their sin. Then, just as a moth eats cloth, you destroy their wealth. No one lasts any longer than a breath. Lord, hear my prayer. Listen to my cry for help. Pay attention to my weeping. I'm like an outsider in your home. I'm just a stranger, like all my family who lived before me. Leave me alone. Let me enjoy life again before I die." Now that's done, I shall now do the Lord's Prayer. Please bow your heads. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.